We'll go ahead and get going here. So everybody, thank you for joining the first ever adaptive webinar. I think you guys can see our faces. I'm joined here with my esteemed colleagues, Daniel Martinez and Mel Martell. Daniel is one of our account managers over here at Adaptive. Daniel and I actually, we have a really long tenure together. We worked at Builder Trend. He was the consultant. I was the sales guy. We stood that program up for Builder Trend. And Daniel's been one of our day one customer success reps, an absolute wealth of knowledge. Daniel, I'll let you do a little intro. Mel Martell, she leads our marketing. So Mel is the magic behind what we're going to be covering today. She definitely keeps the wheels on the train and does a great job. So if you guys want to do just a quick intro, then we can jump in.
Yeah, as Reece mentioned, my name is Daniel Martinez. I've been in the space for over 9 years now. Been working at Adaptive for almost 2 years. It's been quite the experience, but really excited to speak to y'all today and go over our new labor tracking feature.
And hi, like Reece said, my name is Mel. I am the marketing lead at Adaptive. I did start in customer success a year ago. Today is my 1 year anniversary at Adaptive. And while I haven't been in this space a long time, I do live with a builder. So I've been in the builder space for 13 years. So
Who was one of Adaptive's first customers?
True story.
Yeah. So, I mean, Mel, she has all the insights from a construction standpoint. I see Paulina is raising your hand, or maybe that was just a test. Pauline, if you have anything, I guess chat. Let's see here. Sorry, you're all good. You're all good. Okay, everybody, let's dive in here. So what we're covering today is, and let me get some of this out of the way here, just so I can see what's going on here.
And I'll keep an eye on chat too, Reece.
Yeah, thanks, dude. And if someone's raising their hand, stop me. I minimize that tab. Okay, guys. So the webinar for today is Master Labor Tracking in Adaptive. Okay. Now, this is our first one. We scheduled an hour. Okay. We want this to be engaging, and it's kind of thrown me out that I can't like see people's faces and call on them. So like I said, we'll cannot see the link to Sean's website for other videos. We can post it. We can send it out afterwards, Hannah. Mel, if you could just make a note of that, that'd be great. But for today, so we're going to do an hour. Okay. We want this to be collaborative. This is definitely not going to just be an hour of us talking. I think, frankly, we probably got like, with a demo, 20, 30 minutes of content, and we're going to be hosting a Q&A at the end. I'll go over agenda, but we want this to be interactive. So as we're getting going, as I just mentioned, we're going to be holding a Q&A at the end, which Mel, I'm actually kind of curious if they're going to be able to talk or if this is just going to be going over messages in the Q&A. Do you know?
Probably messages for now.
Messages for now. Okay, cool. So definitely put your questions in the chat. We will field them as we go. We're going to be sending out this recording this afternoon. It's also going to be in our help center. Okay. So if this is a feature or this is feature functionality that you're not already using in your Adaptive account, you can access it in our help center. You can share this with your team, and we can certainly do trainings on this with customer success. But that's the goal today, is to get you the information you need to get up and running, but also make sure that you're using it appropriately if you're already on labor tracking and Adaptive. And then at the end, we're going to give you a sneak peek into a product release, as well as keep you in the loop for more of what's coming with our webinars. Okay. So with that said, the entire reason why we came out with our labor tracking is so that you guys don't have to be exporting timesheets anymore, matching hours to jobs, guessing billable rates. We wanted to build functionality that's going to automate all of that for you from field to financials. Okay, so how we're going to go about this is we're going to discuss the challenges, the feature overview, our live demo that Daniel is going to be running, and then the impact for builders, and then our Q&A. Okay, so the challenges that we heard from builders that really motivated us to focus on this functionality were really three main points. Accurate cost plus billing was a challenge. Predictable labor costs was challenging, and there was just as always, kind of the adaptive MO is there's a lot of manual process to keeping all of this up to date. As you're going through kind of these sub bullets, again, you're going to be finding a lot of eliminating these tedious and error prone processes from a cost plus billing standpoint. We want to make sure that we're invoicing all the hours to our customers and having them tracked appropriately. From a predictable labor cost standpoint, it's that visibility into our spend. And this is going to be how do we use our job costed labor that is accurate from a cost and a burdened rate standpoint or a priced rate standpoint. So we can be estimating our hours more accurately in the future, winning better work, making more margin on it. And then ultimately, just replacing the spreadsheets and the guesswork. We wanted to automate all of that. So how we're actually doing this is from a missed billing to accurate invoicing standpoint, really that cost plus side, is Adaptive is going to pull in approved timesheets automatically from QuickBooks Online. Okay. Before I go into this, do we have any QuickBooks desktop users on here? And you
Yeah,
guys can just chat.
I think I saw a couple too.
We have a couple.
Yep, from people I've trained. For sure.
Rachel Camp, yes. Paul Durst, Enterprise, K. Okay. We've got a couple as they trickle in here, guys. Just to be totally clear, our labor tracking today is pulled in from QuickBooks Online. Okay. So this will still be informative for you, especially as you guys, I'm sure you're having conversations of like, how do we get QuickBooks Online into the business? Is it a good choice? Is it a good move? Again, we can have more of these conversations offline in a training if that's conversations that you would like our advice on. But just know that we're going to be automatically pulling in these timesheets so that you have every billable hour is captured and invoiced. Okay. The labor data flows directly into the cost plus billing module, which Daniel is going to show you, and that's going to eliminate those manual calculations. From the predictability side, from uncertainty to predictable labor costs, again, very, very classic adaptive MO here is real-time tracking. Just having that information flow into Adaptive is going to give you that visibility and control over the spend that you have accrued before the end of the month. So you can be making better decisions from where do we allocate our labor? Are we making sure that we're getting invoiced for it and capturing it? And then obviously, if we've got projects that are happening today and we're bidding projects for tomorrow, we can have that data in here so that we're not just in this constant nasty cycle of erroneously bidding and estimating our labor. Okay. Let me turn off my closed captioning because it's covering the last bullet here. Which, by the way, are you guys on closed captioning? I think that's just us. I think we decided that. There we go.
Yeah, I think that's just you. We had a couple people chime in on chat I responded to real quick, but if anybody wants to talk about the differences between QB Online, QB Desktop, IES, you can always message me directly or you can message our support team. We'll get you with your account manager. Just want to make sure I brought that up.
Love it. Thank you, sir. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, cool. And then just from the manual tracking standpoint, a lot of this process is manual today. If it's tracking time through a project management app, if it's a specific time tracking app, if it's a report that we're exporting from QuickBooks and manipulating in Excel, that's what we wanted to automate primarily from an adaptive standpoint. Okay, so this is just kind of an easier to read, tighter way to view it. Again, we're going to sync automatically from QuickBooks Time, apply true employee cost rates, as well as the fully burdened labor rate or the price that we're going to be billing our customers. Okay, so now you can see the delta between the two, and we can be, again, running much tighter information. We've got Jumana in here. Where does the adaptive pull the timesheets from? Is it different methods? However, the contractor is currently tracking hours. Currently, we just started using QBO Time to track by project. Daniel.
Yeah, so right now we're just pulling employee timesheets over or time shifts. We are scoping out how to pull in contractor hours as well, because I know a lot of people set, certain people up as 1099 employees. So we are scoping out pulling in contractor time. That is a very large priority. So I just want to make that clear is I wouldn't think it's going to be too long. I would say a month or so is our current ETA for contractor time.
Great. And then we have Rhiannon. When you say QuickBooks Time, that's a specific separate module that's QB only, or do you pull from weekly timesheets in QB?
Yeah, so the weekly timesheets in QuickBooks is what we're pulling in. So you can do it for employees, you can do it for vendors, you can do it for contractors. Right now, we just pull in that employee time. So basically, I'll show you during the demo, you're going to connect employees, be able to set cost rates, but we pull all your hours in from employee timesheets. Yep.
Love it. Love it. Rhiannon's excited. We'll definitely dive in. And just real quick before we go, can we just get I don't know, some type of an emoji in the chat if you are already using adaptive labor? And we're just going to sit here in the awkward silence. Kind of. Okay. Thumbs up from Sean Van Dyke. Love it. Not using. Okay. Okay, cool. The reason I wanted to ask is because if you are, Brianna is great. Victor is not, but needs to. Love it. Paulina. Okay, perfect. Sweet. Would love to. Okay. Cool. I just wanted to pulse check. And if you guys are using it currently, or you're kind of using it, definitely blow up the chat. Would love to hear from you guys. Marla is using adaptive to clock in time clock tracking, but not using QB payroll time clock. Great. Okay, cool. Some opportunity in here. Sweet. This is where I'll flip it over to Daniel to jump into the live demo. Daniel, you can take it away, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it, Reece. So we're going to touch on a couple different things. I wanted to actually start in the timesheets tab of my example account here. So I'll go over like how to review the timesheets. We'll go into how to set it up, how to connect it to QuickBooks employees, how to set cost rates. Again, any math actions or review you can do from there. We'll go into reviewing it on budgets, and then we'll talk about billable rate and actually building a client invoice or a draw directly from billable hours. Okay. So first thing here, you'll see you have all this information up top. You know, you have date, hours, cost, employees, obviously the cost code or the service that they're clocking in, clock out with, what job it's relative to, billable status, et cetera, right? You can always control your columns up here in the top right. What I really wanted to point your focus to is like this filter, right? So you can filter by cost code, you can filter by job, you can filter by specific employee. And then we'll actually warn you if certain time activities don't have a cost rate associated with it. So you can just click on this bar up top and you'll see that I actually am not connected to QuickBooks as an employee, and I don't have a cost in here. So to set this up from the beginning, you're going to go over to settings. You're going to go down to the people tab. Okay. You can easily see who's synced with QuickBooks currently. And you have a couple different options. You can either connect a current employee, or if you're starting from scratch, you don't have that employee actually in Adaptive or logging in, you can click invite people, and you can choose to import from QuickBooks. That will connect them upon inviting them to the program, or you can choose to not invite them. Completely up to you. Okay. If we're connecting a current employee like Daniel Martinez, right, that we just saw in the timesheet, I'll click on my name. I'll click the drop down for QuickBooks Sync. I'll choose this right here. You can actually see also other ones that have already been linked. So it's only going to give you the option to link it to an employee that hasn't been used. And then you can set your cost rate. Okay. So when you apply this cost rate, you can basically backdate it to a certain starting date. I'm going to say $30 an hour, and then I'm going to choose the starting date just the first of the year. Okay. When I do that and I save this out, it's basically going to update all my current time activities that were in there. So I'll go ahead and confirm this. And now if I went back to timesheets, we're no longer have any missing information. We no longer have any shifts without a cost rate. So if I went down to, let's say, search for Daniel Martinez, it'll apply that cost rate across the board to all my shifts. Okay. Another piece here that I do want to point out is just the ability to do things in mass. So like, let's say for that specific project or that specific cost code, you know, you wanted to alter the cost rate just for those specific shifts, you could certainly do that. You could also mark them as billable, move the job, move the cost code, set the cost rate in mass. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that just right off the bat? feel free to ping the chat. I want to make sure I stop for questions anytime. Okay. Perfect.
And let's give them a second here. So Daniel, in terms of that start date, is that what's backdating so like you fill in your cost and then you fill in your original date and then it automatically counts all of your cost? Is that what that backdate is, or can you go into a little bit more on that initial date?
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. So if you click in here, basically any shifts that were made after this date, so anything in 2025 in this case, is going to update to this new cost rate of $30 an hour. Anything previous to that, right, essentially will not be updated. So, we basically do it year by year. You can adjust this however often you see fit. But yeah, it's going to update all shifts after this starting date.
Okay. And we got a couple of questions in here, a few of them. Tim Savre, to start, said, can we have different rates by job?
Yeah, so this actually is leading into the next topic we're going to talk about. So obviously reviewing your costs and the budget, but we're also going to be talking about billable rates. And you can have different billable rates per job, different billable rates per employee, or just have like a mass billable rate for every employee for a specific job. So I'll show you guys that in just a second. But we did find during like our discovery and building this feature that it's very rare that you have different cost rates outside of an employee or a specific cost rate.
Okay. And one piece here, I think before we jump in, Daniel, Jumana asked, does it change the rates in QBO2 if you change it in adaptive?
Yes, it does.
Okay, sweet. And then is cost rate pre-tax?
That's a good question. Yeah, I would say most people keep it pre-tax for now, because you can apply tax in QuickBooks.
Awesome. And then the Victoria question, can you set a billable rate as well per employee? Yes, and we'll get into that. Yep.
Yes, you can. So you're going to go to jobs, right? Like, so let's say we have all these shifts, they're approved, they have cost codes, they're going to specific projects, and they're now billable. We want to basically go into that job, right, and look at what we budgeted for, let's say demolition versus actual. We're going to go to jobs up here in the top left. We're going to click on our specific project. And then we'll see it's actually involved in the actual cost to date. And same thing, you're going to basically see that there are certain time clock activities that might be missing a rate. If we go to this one for demolition, for example, we'll see that it populated for Reece, Lexi, and myself, all with our billable hours directly in your budget to track your costs. Okay, you can always click on this reference number. It'll pull up on the side, basically showing you that individual shift. So if you need to add in a description, if you need to adjust cost code, adjust the job, you realize it's misplaced, you can always adjust it straight from this screen. And then you have the same options in terms of mass actions if you want to adjust cost rate or if you want to filter up top as well. Okay, so that's actually reviewing like estimate versus actual. What did I predict to spend? What am I actually spending in terms of time clock hours? Now let's talk about billable rate. So what you're charging your client. If you go to settings and scroll down, you have the option for billable rates to, first of all, copy from another job. So if you set this all up on one project, you can just copy it directly over to another. Rather than setting it in mass, people do have different billable rates for different projects. So you can set it by employee, right? And basically choose, I want Daniel Martinez, we're going to charge the client $60 an hour for his hours. You can also do it by a single rate, just across the board. All employees, we're charging the client the same, or you can do rate by cost code. So essentially whatever work they're performing. So if it's demolition, we can basically type in a specific rate for demolition. I'm going to carry through with this rate by employee and essentially give a billable rate for my client based on who's doing the work. Okay. And again, I can save this. As soon as I build this, I can go to another project, let's say Reece's project, go into settings, and I can copy that directly over from the Daniel Martinez job. Okay, so you can always apply that and basically have that populate directly in another project after you've already set it up one time, but you shouldn't have to be setting it up over and over and over again if it is the same setup. Any questions on that before I go into like how to actually add these onto draws? always awkward with a little silence. So I just want to make sure people are getting their questions off.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Give people room to think. This is good. And I also, even to the billable rate question from Victoria. Victoria, how would you use it? Would you primarily use the cost code, the employee, the job? Like what are some opinions of what you would use most commonly in the setup? By employee from Marla. Cool. Cool. We can let those kind of trickle in.
Cool.
Sweet.
Okay. So now let's talk about actually, once we set our billable rate, let's talk about actually applying this to a draw, right? Or adding it to a client invoice. So we're going to go to draws up here at the top. And guys, if you ever need more information on like, maybe you haven't approached building draws and Adaptive yet, seriously, please contact myself or contact support. We are happy to set up Zoom meetings. We want to make sure that this is clear, that you guys are getting the full value out of Adaptive, especially when it comes to invoicing, how you're getting paid. That's super important. Okay. We're going to go to draws. We're going to click create new draw. Okay. And from here, you can basically build it directly off your budget. But if we're charging from billable hours, we're actually going to use this option to link cost. Okay. So I'm going to click link cost right here in the middle, and it'll pull up all those billable hours. Okay. Notice that it's by default billable hours. So again, something I want to bring up is you might have certain hours that are actually not billable. Again, if you notice that you might be missing some of these, this is something you want to review before you're building the draw. But let's say you catch it while you are, you can always select those specific options, go to actions, and change the billable status right here as well. Okay, that way you're not missing costs that you should have charged the client for, and you're basically eating that, and it's eating in your profit. Okay, so you can also use certain date range. Let's say I'm just charging them for the shifts that happened in August. I can filter by that, and then I will just either select this top option or individually select shifts and add them directly to my draw. Okay, notice it shows, right, my cost, but then also my price. One thing I want to be clear of is the client's only ever going to see price. Okay, this is more for your internal knowledge, what it costs you, and then it even shows the increase for what you're charging the client. Okay, it does pull over the description, it pulls over the item, it defaults the contractor to whatever your company name is. That way it's not listing, the individual employee. People can always put that in description as well. Okay, from here, you would scroll down, you would be able to export this draw in our format where you have a cover page, you have the draw schedule, you have your change orders, you have your transaction backups, essentially like a standard draw, right, in Adaptive. But essentially you're able to add in your billable hours from here, add your billable rate, and quickly calculate what you're going to charge.
Beautiful.
Cool.
We do have a question from Tina.
Let's hear it.
Taylor. Can we just track projected hours to actual hours only?
So this is kind of part of our sneak peek, because currently we don't add like hours directly as a field in our budgeting. So if you have like an estimated number of hours, there's no way to really compare it. But during our sneak peek, we'll talk about, basically custom reports or how you can do reporting, how other people have used it thus far. I think that'll really help you out. But I would love to sideline with you and basically know what you're trying to accomplish, number one, and what format you would like it in. And we can certainly suggest it to our product team.
Love it. And then we also, it looks like we have some Q&A popping up too. Mel, is that what you're going to hit on?
Yes.
I love
yeah,
that.
You're
Checks
on
and
it. Good job.
balances. Love that. Love that. Okay. So, Arielle, is unclear how this connects with the payroll info in QB, as I use ADP for payroll. My ADP imports into QuickBooks and they're detailed per employee, but not job.
Yeah, so I would want to see if when ADP is pulling in payroll for your company, if it actually populates the employee timesheet. My initial read is that it probably doesn't, but again, I would want to look into your account to see that specifically. The other question, Rhiannon, by category, yes. So essentially, there's an option in draws. This is something I actually didn't cover. There's essentially an option that we have per job where you can turn on categories. So you can turn on categories, and then basically when you're building a draw, rather than going by item, there's going to be an option to view by category rather than view by item. It would actually populate right here if I turned that option on. So you don't have to do every single line item. You could just do one, phase or one category of the project. That way it's not getting so granular or detailed for the client.
Got it. So basically the use case there, Daniel, is I would have like trim labor, framing labor, concrete labor, and then I would lump all those labor codes into the labor category. And then when I build my draw, I would just do it by labor category.
Absolutely. That's a good example. I would also say like people group it, again, in phases. So they'll say like pre-construction, right? Like, and kind of go throughout the project, finishing trades. So whatever they're actually performing, you can customize what the categories are based on that specific project or that job.
Cool. And is Elizabeth Jones in here by chance?
I didn't see her pop in. No.
I was gonna say, because that could be a use case for Elizabeth. I know we had just talked about something similar to there. Okay. And then Amy Griffith. I do not run or sync payroll into QBO, but I am looking for ways to create timesheets to charge labor and costs for my salaried employees. Can I just enter hours in Adaptive that will create sync labor costs to my projects in QBO?
Not currently. We currently don't have the option to just enter in hours directly. You can enter them in QuickBooks. I obviously did quite a bit during the prep for this webinar. And it actually is pretty quick. Amy, fortunately, you are one of my direct clients. So I can definitely run through that with you on how to enter those in the employee timesheet. We could also brainstorm other ways to get the hours into the program. We obviously do have the older labor workaround, which will work for the time being, but I would love to brainstorm a better way to do it for sure.
Love it. Okay, Jumana, is adding people tracking and Adaptive a different subscription? I do not see people section in my Adaptive, or maybe I'm just missing seeing it.
Yeah, it's not a different subscription. It probably is just based on your permissions, whether you can add or subtract people.
It could be a permission thing.
Yeah, it could be a permission thing. Could just be looking in the wrong spot, but yeah, we can definitely help you with that, Jumana. Allie looks like she asked, what if we are currently utilizing only Buildertrend's time clock feature for tracking our billable hours? So great question. We actually have multiple people who basically utilize Buildertrend's time clock, and then they do sync with QuickBooks to push those hours over. Even if you're not syncing the other financial aspects, you can just push over hours to your employee timesheet in QuickBooks, and that's what we're picking up and pulling into Adaptive. So as long as you have those connected, as long as those hours are approved, they'll populate in the timesheet that we pull from QBO.
Love it. Marla, we will show you the sneak peek in terms of the how many hours per employee. And then Bria, if we want to track labor internally, but don't need it on the budget we're providing to the bank with the draw, is there a way to remove it from the budget?
I just wouldn't assign a customer or a job.
Say that again, Daniel.
I just wouldn't assign a customer or a job if you're trying to track it internally, because you still want to track it as an overall expense, or maybe like just hours and know where you stand across the company, how much you're spending on labor. But you just wouldn't assign a job to that.
Sweet. And Bria, we can sideline on this too at our next check-in, or you can work with customer success on that, just to make sure that gets taken care of. Tim Savre, which other project management softwares are able to sync to, or are able to directly sync time to QuickBooks Online?
That's a really good question. I don't have like a list. I know Buildertrend's obviously a big one. I know QuickBooks took over T-Sheets. Those are like the two most popular, I would say. But I do know that there's other time clock softwares that pull into QBO. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Tim, if you have one in particular, let us know that you're curious about. And then Rachel Camp, will you be pulling in time from Buildertrend directly in the future?
Good question.
TBD.
I think it's TBD. I think we just started with our first iteration of the builder trend integration, pulling in budgets, change orders, POs. I think that's been great for a lot of clients so far. I think it remains to be seen whether we're going to be able to enter in hours directly into Adaptive and sync that with QuickBooks, or we'll pull from other softwares directly. Great call out by Sean. That was another one is job tread. I wasn't positive on it, but he basically said job tread time functions the same way as builder trend in regards to pushing hours to QBO timesheets. Gusto does not pull hours directly into Adaptive. I do believe Gusto can pull into QuickBooks though, which would then pull into Adaptive. For Lindsay Tools' question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gusto does go to QuickBooks. If a shift is changed, this is from Rhiannon. If a shift is changed in builder trend, it will double up in QuickBooks and has to be manually deleted. A direct import for changes would be great.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think another thing you'll see here soon is change orders, number one, but I would also say like this, being able to put time directly into Adaptive, import timesheets. I think that's something that we've scoped out for a long time. We need the recommendations. We need people to be involved and basically essentially request that and say, hey, this is what we really need. This would really help our business. And that's how we prioritize our product. We try to be very agile in terms of the feedback we take and how we implement it with our product team.
Beautiful. Love it, Rhiannon. Tina Taylor is back. Does Adaptive push the payroll job cost to the job in QBO? In other words, does it kind of book the payroll cost?
I'm not positive on the question. I would say that most people are using QBO hours to then run their payroll, or they have it like somebody else mentioned where it's pulling directly in from ADP with payroll.
Tina, we can go deeper on this if you'd like.
And then I know we're monitoring chat, but I think there's a couple Q&As.
Were there some Q&As that popped up?
Okay. Answers, yeah.
Let's see here.
Do the employees enter the time/job and cost code? They can. There's also people who manage it themselves. I would say it just depends who's doing the entering into QuickBooks. If you're using QuickBooks Time, right, like it gives you the ability to basically enter in the job and the cost code. If somebody's just logging it internally in QuickBooks, you obviously would be able to control the job and the cost code, which is, to be honest, how I did it when I populated timesheets. I wasn't like clocking in, clocking out. I went in, filled out employee timesheets for myself, Reece, and a few other employees.
The Victoria question, I see the draw and Adaptive charges the client based on cost rate. Can you charge based on billable rate?
So it's actually doing both. It's basically showing you what the cost rate is, right? But this is actually showing what you're charging the client. This is completely based off of the billable rate. So you'll see for this, I basically, it was Reece was getting $40 an hour. And then right here, the billable rate was $55 an hour for that employee. So it's showing you both. It's basically just showing you your internal cost, but then what you're charging the client as well.
And Victoria, just to be clear on this, so as Daniel had mentioned, column E, the cost column, is for internal viewing on your end. And then column F, the price, is what's actually getting reflected as you export and create your draw package that would be client facing. Okay, so to be clear, your client would be seeing the price. We show the cost next to the price for internal purposes.
Yeah. And if it is a visual thing, like you don't want to see cost, you can always remove it directly from here. And then you're only ever looking at price, so that way you're not confused what the client's seeing or may not be seeing.
Cool. Ariella, in terms of the ADP time and attendance service, I don't have it off the top of my head. Daniel, do you? That might be something worth like digging into. Her question, Ariella, is, are you saying we would need to use ADP's time and attendance service?
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I would have to do more research on how ADP pulls into QuickBooks.
Okay. And then Madison Davis, let's see here. Just to add, we are also having the issue mentioned above. If time is not billable to a project, we still want to be able to track it by project so we know the cost of the time spent on the particular project. Could this be something that comes in the future?
Yeah, I think I'm also understanding, like, one thing is you don't have to have a cost to set a billable rate. So I'm sorry if I didn't address that, but like it could be a $0 amount shift, right? If I have any employees that I haven't filled out a cost for, you can still set a billable rate for that employee as well, right? So like, even if I removed one of this from Daniel Martinez, I could then set a billable rate for Daniel Martinez and the cost would say $0, but the billable rate would be whatever I set it as. So yes, you are able to accommodate that, like even if these hours don't have a cost associated.
Cool.
Hopefully that answered your question.
Cool. All right. The Q&A is cleared. Rhiannon, that'd be awesome. Shift has changed to BT. We covered that. Does Adaptive push the payroll job cost in? Other words, okay, we talked about that. Since Adaptive posts the sub and material costs, not sure if it is posting labor too. Do you see that? I think it was Tina adding to her initial question, Daniel.
Since Adaptive posts the sub and material costs, not sure if it's posting labor too. Again, I would have to do more research on like how people are running that actual payroll.
Okay.
If it's directly from the QB time, it should be all integrated and not have an issue. If it's some outside source like ADP or Gusto, I'm not positive on that.
Okay, cool. And then I think Sean's comment here is you have to tell QBO what the cost rate is. If I pay a guy $20 an hour as the wage, you need to calculate the cost rate you want to charge to the job. So a $20 wage rate, tongue twister, would be something like $24.95 cost rate. And you can set a billable rate at $75 an hour, which would effectively be your margin and burden.
Right.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Okay, keep them coming, guys. This has been great so far. Daniel, that concludes the live demo.
For now. Yeah,
For
we got more webinars coming up. I'll be back.
Right. That's right. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Okay, great, guys. So just as a recap here, let me go ahead and hit slideshow. So for the before, and this is where I would actually like to hear some commentary in the chat. But basically just the before and after, or the impact of what adaptive labor tracking is doing, is preventing this chasing timesheets and re-entering hours into QuickBooks. No clear view of true labor costs on a job, and billing labor separately outside of draws, which are often delayed. Now, with adaptive labor tracking, we sync automatically from QuickBooks. Hours flow in without re-entry. So we're cutting out this double entry. Employee cost rates are applied in real time so that you can see the true labor costs on every job. And the bill labor, you can build labor directly in draws. Hours worked turn into revenue instantly.
I did just answer one of Victoria's questions. I just typed it back, but if it helps other people, I want to make sure I read it out. She said, we don't typically bill clients based on employee time, but we want the data so we know if we are over underestimating on projects. Can you run project costing reports even though we are not planning on charging clients for that time? Yes, absolutely. So that's essentially where the billable versus non-billable comes in. You can absolutely track the cost. You don't have to charge the client directly for those time clock shifts. This would work on fixed price jobs. This would work on jobs that you're not charging the client directly for employee labor.
Sweet. Okay. Now, this is for the pro tip for everyone out there. We had some comments regarding the custom reports. So Daniel, I'll let you take away the labor tracking pro tip here. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you guys aren't leveraging our custom reports, they're exactly that. We will help you go through and basically build custom reports. We have a lot of ones that are built in. One that I just built is called labor tracking, total cost. And this is just so you can look at your labor across all jobs. Now, you can certainly come in here and filter by an individual job. You can filter by a particular cost code, right? You can filter by a specific date range. And then all of this is able to be exported, whether you're exporting it immediately or you want to schedule this to basically go out, daily, weekly, monthly. It's just nice to be able to use that not only for labor, but also any other type of report you're running. One thing that we are looking at adding into this report that I think would answer a couple of your questions is the actual hours and the time. So you can basically see across your whole company predicted time versus what it actually turned out to be. And then obviously how that impacted your job profitability or the cost in specific jobs or the company as a whole. So again, right now, hours are not available on a custom report. They are available in this timesheets tab, which you can run the same filters, be able to download it from here. We are trying to make it sure that so that you don't have to go use spreadsheets or export. So we are going to be building that into custom reports. The same view with hours, cost, employee, cost code, and job.
Beautiful. And then you just want to cover the sneak peek because I think it's generally the same things. The sneak peek in terms of
hours. That is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, great. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. Okay, we're good. I see a couple of Q&As popped. A lot of ADP questions. We should probably do some content on this. If we are using ADP, but manually entering time into QuickBooks Online so that it comes into Adaptive, where does Adaptive pull the cost for each employee? Also, will this create a cost in QBO from Adaptive, or does this only live in Adaptive?
So we don't currently pull in like payroll directly into job costing. That's why we're pulling in hours to move into your budget. So again, I would want to know, like, is it filling out the employee timesheet, or is it just pulling over payroll costs and then we're expecting the payroll cost to actually flow into the budget?
And as always, Steve, we can sideline on this if we need to go deeper. Rhiannon is asking that we go back to the custom report tab and just spend a little digestion time on that so she can get some inspiration, some ideas.
For sure. And I think this is going to be another webinar in the future. And we'll actually bring on some of the builders that we have that are utilizing and leveraging these custom reports. The built-in ones that we have are all transactions. So you can run reports essentially on any type of transaction, whether it's a PO, bills, expenses, invoices, all together. Again, you have all the filters available in terms of status, job, and then you can basically control what columns are being shown and what data you actually run reports off of. And then again, you can save these as new reports whenever you'd like. So I would use more of these custom reports as inspiration, and then you're filtering either by specific jobs, specific date range, specific types of transactions. Very similar with the master budgets report. If we click into master budget report, one I usually show people is grouped by job. So this will show individual line items like all budget lines. To me, this doesn't tell very much, but if I go to group by job, I can see profitability on individual jobs. And then another thing to tease is we have just released to a select few people to start is the WIP report, right? So that's another pre-built report that we currently have in custom reports. We're going to put it as part of your default job view. So please, if you guys have any feedback or if you want any other reports that you find super useful on a weekly, monthly basis, or that you constantly talk about with your team, you're manually building, please let us know so that we can build it into the software. We want to get you guys off of manual building as much as possible. The other effective ones I've seen, specifically for cost plus builders is undrawn costs, certainly the WIP report, and then credit card reconciliation. So, who's the repeat offenders in terms of not uploading their receipts? How many costs are you missing? Lag time, I think we have Victor Ryback on here. He was a big fan of that, just being able to track down his costs accurately in a timely manner, for sure.
Speak of the devil, old Victor Ryback. Victor uses busy. His cost codes and jobs are the same. Can I export a file from there and import it into Adaptive?
I'm guessing this is for time clock hours. Currently,
Mhm.
no, but this is also something that we're building.
Cool.
We basically want a way to accommodate, right, any type of time. So ideally, yes, you have QuickBooks Online, you have QuickBooks Time. That's what this new release is about. However, I do think, QuickBooks Desktop, I think being able to import in timesheets, obviously working with ADP, that was a really common question. I think that's something we should definitely approach and talk about more thoroughly with our team.
Love it. Victoria Terry question. Victoria's question is, what happens to an employee's time when they leave the company?
Yeah, good question. I mean, they wouldn't be entering in future time. I would also say you have the ability to archive straight from Adaptive, like archive those employee shifts if you really want to. But in my opinion, like even if you let somebody go, you still want that tracked on your job costing to know where those labor hours were spent and how much money you spent on that employee who's now gone.
Beautiful. And then Sean Van Dyke provided a little pro tip here. This pro tip works awesome with Adaptive. You set up a project in QuickBooks Online, which is linked to Adaptive, and then you code it 25-000 company internal. And then you have employees clock in to that project for hours you have to pay them that aren't related to a specific project. For example, you pay your employees for training at the shop or other admin/overhead time. They clock in to the 25-000 job with a labor cost code. And then you can see how much non-productive costs you have with your employees. It's just a thought. This project will always show negative because you aren't invoicing this project, but it's just a simple way to track these types of costs that use the same project, or excuse me, same job costing system.
Yeah. I would also say people use that for like overhead expenses in general. If you want to be able to basically push them over and not relate them to a specific project. We don't require a project if you're using just like an account. So like fuel, travel, meals, entertainment, things like that. But I have seen it very common, like where people want to single that out, they will put it to like an admin, overhead, an internal cost project. Great tip, Sean.
Love it. Steve, I see that you did mention it pulls hours per project per employee. I think this is just generally like understand. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of ADP users out there, or at least it could just be the people that are using ADP chimed in. But I think that understanding more of these payroll processes and how they push information in would be helpful. So we'll definitely want to sideline with you on that to understand this a little bit more, get you into a solution. Okay, great guys. We're coming up here on time. This has been awesome. Love the engagement here. Let me go ahead and just share in terms of what's next from a webinar standpoint. Love to hear it, Nicole. I'm glad this was helpful. So you can sign up. We're going to be posting it in the product. We're going to be sending emails just like we did here. If there was one that you prefer over the other, let us know. We want to make sure we're notifying you in the most appropriate way. Next episode is, or excuse me, webinar is Wednesday, September 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay. We're going to be doing a labor in action. What this means is we're going to have an actual builder who's using labor in Adaptive show how they use it. Okay. Now, this might be a shorter episode. It might be duplicative, but that's kind of the point of the exercise is we're going to be doing 2 webinars a month, one with Daniel and I, one with a builder and I, so that we can really hone in and see what context lands the best. If it's both and you guys are like, we love the adaptive point of view from an in-depth technical, this is what it is, and then seeing it from a builder, fantastic. If you guys are like, yeah, with the builder, it's so much more impactful because we can see how another builder is actually using it. Great. But we're going to want that feedback. And I guess I didn't hit my mouse fast enough, but this is basically just saying what I shared. We want to show you guys or have a builder explain directly how Adaptive is transforming their labor tracking from pre-adaptive challenges to the measurable impact on job costing, billing, and profitability. Q&A has been ongoing, so nicely done. And we've chatted multiple times about how to get in contact with us. You can email me directly. I'm happy to get you in front of your customer success manager, your account manager. Obviously, this is Daniel's information. Daniel had mentioned that if it's not him directly, you can email us at support@adaptive.build, and that will notify our entire customer success team for immediacy and response. And also, guys, before we have people start to trickle off, we just released a poll/quiz. You should have seen that poll up. It is an NPS survey. Okay. It's one question, super easy. Give it your gut rating. How likely are you to recommend Adaptive to a builder in your network? With 0 being no way you would tell anyone about Adaptive because it's an awful piece of software, and 10 being I tell everybody about Adaptive because it's the best piece of software. So with that said, guys, I'll leave this slide up. Really appreciate everybody. We do have a couple of questions that have trickled in. Another one from Jamana, like both ways of notifying. Okay, great. Love the feedback. I saw it when I went into Adaptive to work and I ignored the email one due to too much in inbox. Love it. More of this, Jamana and team. We love this type of feedback. And then Arieli, please add my Arieli at norwoodnyc.com to your announcements mailing list. You may only have Dave's. I'm going to copy and paste this and do this right now, Arieli. Thank you. Okay, beautiful. Just a real quick thumbs up. How many of you guys have done the NPS? Super helpful for us, guys, just to understand where the value is at. We want honest scores. Because again, if you're not liking the software and you're not recommending it, we're not building the right stuff. So we want to hear from you. Make sure you're doing it. Love it. Jeremy Sloan, appreciate you. Kat Peelan, hope this was good for you, Kat. Would love to hear from you. If you shoot me an email, Daniel an email, whatever. 10 out of 10 for old Victor Ryback. Love to hear it, dude. Also, I just did a podcast with Victor Ryback. And you guys should totally listen to it. Victor's been doing some pretty cool stuff here over the last, Victor, I'm drawing from the podcast. I think it was like last 10 years, 5 years of building a business. I can't remember. Point being, it's going to be a really good episode. I think Victor has ran a pretty traditional type construction company up until here about the last 12 months, where he's really put time into process, software, and running a much more calculated, data-driven business. So definitely tune into Builders, Budgets, and Beers to hear that. Tim Savre with a quick reminder, we should all be entering the burden rate or total company cost for the cost rate, which is typically around 30% more than an employee's hourly rate. I'm going to read that again because I hear just in the general construction accounting community this being a hot topic. Tim Savre, controller for Nick Schiffer Builds, NS Builds, who also was a past partner at Month End, a construction accounting service provider. Tim has worked with hundreds of builders across the country. Tim's quick reminder is that we should all be entering the burden rate or total company cost for the cost rate in Adaptive, which is typically around 30% more than an employee's hourly rate. I'm happy to get any of you in contact with Tim if you want to dig into that a little bit more. Tim also did a podcast with me on Builders, Budgets, and Beers. You should listen to it because Tim's a stud. Lindsay Poole, can I get added to the communications for the webinars? Thanks so much, Lindsay. We will look into that. And then Arieli, this is what we do to account for the employer tax plus workers' comp. We add 30% to validation, Tim, from Arieli. Fantastic. Okay, sweet. Q&A, couple of them. Episode, LOL, love it. Already recommended to multiple people. Fantastic. Thank you, Nicole. We appreciate your support. Again, make sure to get that NPS survey in. Guys, this was killer for our first webinar. Really love it. Tons of great feedback. Thank you for spending the time out of your day. Again, we're going to be posting this in the Help Center, which is available online as well as in your Adaptive account. The little question mark in the bottom left. And we're going to be emailing it to you as a recording, right, Mel? Email? Sweet.
The recording will be going out today to all registrants and attendees, and then it'll be going up in the Help Center shortly. And then those of you who have requested to get added to the communication because you've attended, we've got your information, so we'll make sure that you're in the email list for the next one coming up in a few weeks.
Awesome. Mel, you're great. Thank you. Daniel, you're a stud. You're a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for buzzing through this. Victoria, glad you enjoyed it. Paulina, please add me to the communication list. This is Paulina Vidal. Sherry, her email's in here. Great. We need to add someone for Paul. Okay, this is great. Just real quick, are all this chat is saved, right, Mel? So we'll be, yeah, guys, if you have questions, I'll leave this open until this webinar is completely empty. So just type in whatever you want. These chats are saved so we can get the right people on these communications. Julie, I love this system. I have only been using it for a week, but it has freed up a lot of my time and flows flawlessly. In the software world, we call that time to value, and we're glad that you see it, Julie. Thank you for the support. Insert applause emoji. You guys are great. Rhiannon, we think the same of you. Thank you. Paul Durst hearts it, as do we. Beautiful. Love it. LOL. I got it, Paul. I got it. Okay. Sweet, guys. This is lunch break. Unless you just want to hear me ramble in my mic, which if you want to hear more of that, go to Builders, Budgets, and Beers, found everywhere, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our website. And also, if you're not following our Instagram, you should be. It's Adaptive Builds. And if you want more like, I don't know, Reece content, you can follow me on Adaptive Reece on Instagram. Cool. Adaptive Builds. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Mel. Anywhere else, Mel? I mean, that's pretty much it. YouTube. We've got some good stuff on YouTube. If you're YouTube people, the guy who produces our podcast like constantly messages me saying I make goofy faces during recordings. So if you're down on like just seeing me be a goofball, I guess you could watch the podcast on YouTube. There we go. Adaptive.build/podcasts. Cool. I think comments are drying up. I think Q&A is drying up. I think we've got contact information that we need to add. Beautiful. All right. And now the remaining 23 attendees, honestly, they probably just have it on the background. They're probably at lunch. Okay, sweet. And we got some pretty sweet results here for MPS. Awesome, guys. Appreciate you. We're going to wrap this up. Have a great rest of your week. And tune in. September 24 is our next webinar. Nope, I am listening to you. LOL. Jennifer, I need to meet you. If I haven't already. I apologize. The name isn't ringing a bell. But we should totally chat and catch up. Okay, I'm going to close it out. But thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Bye, guys.